They say music has the power to heal, to connect, and to express things that sometimes words cannot. And that's why there is a song for every mood. Every cell of our body reacts to music. But before all the beautiful notes, there is silence. And perhaps that's the place where all meaningful conversations begin. In a world that's asking us to constantly move faster, speak louder, music reminds us to pause and to really be in the moment. Today's guests have spent decades preserving India's most notable art forms, classical music. Just like Darwin's theory, it's the survival of the fittest. And to survive, you have to constantly evolve. And that's what they have actually done. They've kept the heritage aspect of it while evolving it to make it relevant to audiences across the globe. Joining us today are acclaimed Carnatic vocalists. They are performers, educators, mentors, TEDx speakers, and through their brand, Anahita Apoorva, they've made their art relevant to people across generations. Anahita Ravindran and Apoorva Ravindran, it's such a pleasure to have you on the NaariShakti Show.
Thank you. Likewise, the pleasure is ours too.
And a little bit of trivia before we actually get there. So all three of us went to Madras University, of course, different batches. So that's a little connection that we actually share.
Oh, that's so nice to know. Super excited then.
Yeah. So let's now go back to where it all began. So both of you started off very, very young, right? So you were only 3 years of age. So there are two parts to this question. Do you actually remember your very first performance? And then how is it that, something that you started off at such a young age, did you ever think that this would be something that you would make a life out of?
Funny story, and very interestingly, I do remember my first concert, and I did not have an arangetram.
How old were you at that time?
Well, I was 9.
Mm-hmm.
An arangetram is something that most students of music and any art form generally end up having as their first ever stage performance. It quite literally means that. But in my case, it was very unique because it wasn't even intended to be the performance. And I remember it very vividly because it was one of the first awards that I won.
Oh, wow.
I was 8 and I participated in this very prestigious competition that was almost 8-9 months long. And the final big prize of this competition were, of course, a title and then the cash prize. And along with that, my favorite part, a concert. And so when I was 9, I first got up on stage as part of the award. And well, like they say, it was really a blessing because this was a concert that was never intended to be a first concert kind of thing. And it became one. And there is so much expectation. And then it was hugely publicized. And not just Rasikas, we had some of the greatest stalwarts of the industry in the audience. And for me, I did not even know how big it was when it happened. Think back, I was just 9. I just remember the feeling of being on stage in front of people you admire and respect. It was surreal. And I think I'll never forget the way it made me feel as a music student first, because stage is really magical. And once you go up there, the world completely changes. And I think I felt that truly for the first ever time that day. And it's remained in my memory very vividly.
And hers is, in fact,
a very interesting story because I grew up watching her practice at home, and like any other younger sibling, I would want to imitate her. I will always look at her. I'll be like, what is she doing? What is she learning? And that's how I got into music, and I started learning eventually, watching her. It was one of her concerts at a temple that I was attending, and one person from the audience suggested, why don't you join her on stage? Because they saw me sing along when she was singing on stage. Off stage, I was trying to hum along and, looking at her. And that was my first stage experience and still remains very special because I was not even ready for it that day. But, that spontaneity that gave me the courage. Okay, I can face the stage too.
So that was my memory.
Well, when it comes to how it became really what our life was about, music is really one of those things that chooses you. It is not the other way around. So we did not choose music. We know and we feel that music chose us. Because if you see the kind of things that happened, they call it destiny, but it really has a purpose. There is a meaning and there's a direction for the way things happen. And the way our music training, like I was 3 when I was formally put into learning this art form, and the way things flowed from there, the multiple awards and the recognition, of course, the love and the appreciation from the audience, which is such a huge blessing for any performing artist. These add up to something. And then the fact that we joined together as sisters and not just at home as playmates, but also partners on stage. It felt like it truly was building towards something. So today, whatever we have, we owe so much of it. In fact, all of it to the music that we practice. And we think to give back to the art form as much as the art's given us. It is truly what our life's calling should be all about. And we are absolutely fortunate to be able to do that.
So, Apoorva, what you said was very interesting. Every little sibling wants to, mimic what their elder one is doing, right? They become the role models. And what you said was actually very interesting because you described it as surreal, but, having, the legends of the music fraternity there in front of you the very first time, I think it was more than surreal, right? It was a springboard to get to where you are today.
Absolutely.
Right? Beautiful. Sibling rivalry is so common, right? It's very natural too. And your relationship has been very different. So how do you actually build, the trust, partnership, and actually celebrating each other's success?
I think that's the best part, being sisters, because we're very proud of each other's success. Growing up, we did have our shares of, fights or disagreements, but eventually we learned to grow out of it. And on stage, we are not Anahita and Apoorva as solo artists. We are a duo as a unit. So we think together, we react together, we know the wavelength. We make sure it matches and we're always on the same page. And that we're sisters, we also need not, worry about coordinating where we're going to practice or, where we're going to meet, when we're going to meet, that sort of a thing. So the logistical problems are also sorted as we did this growing up. And it's been a beautiful journey for us personally, watching each other grow and supporting each other.
Because even with as sisters, when there is the all of these arguments, and especially I feel like sisters with very little gap. I mean, as someone with a sister of your own, you would know the kind of ridiculously tiny things that lead to huge quarrels, and it would be the parents taking sides, and it would get worse and worse with their involvement when we were younger. But to see that now we are at a place where we tell them that, you guys, we know this, so if we are doing this, then there's this whole process we have of even like finishing it up with some kind of closure. And I think that bond that as sisters that anybody can share is very priceless, and I think we are very, very lucky we get to work together as partners also. So music was almost a playtime thing also, right, along with all of the other little things we would play. And when you take the stage experience and performing, you go beyond just the sibling aspect to being partners, to creating music together as a unit. Like she said, everything is together, and just how much of training and mind training, mental training goes into thinking and reacting the same way, because even as human beings, it is very difficult to react to the same thing in the same way. So to be able to fine tune into that, it really calls for a lot of trust, and like you very rightly said, the kind of dependability that we can have with each other. Musically, to be aware of the kind of things she could be very confident about. and otherwise also, more importantly, plays a very crucial role in presenting something together. And an art form like Carnatic music, where the art form itself has so much of intricacies, to be able to decode that with each other and for each other, I think the process simply became so much more enjoyable. And we try to bring that kind of dynamics to the stage also. We want people to see and be a rasika to the dynamics that two people, but doing the same thing but differently, doing a different thing but similarly. That kind of dynamics is something we enjoy even communicating through our.
So beautiful, so beautiful. And Anahita, while you were saying that, I was actually reminded of this funny thing. So you two have a very less age gap, right? So between me and my sister, we are like 10 years apart. So I've been more like a mom to my sister. And sometimes I would be nice to her, and sometimes I would not be nice to her. There have been so many times when I've told her she's not my biological sister. We just picked her up from somewhere.
Yeah, well, I think I'm also part of that. It doesn't matter if how many years we are apart. One day apart also, I think that is one dialogue that any family hears.
All right. So I'm actually very intrigued right now. So before we move on to our next question, I want to hear a few lines, and I'm sure our audience wants to hear just a few lines from both of you.
Oh, sure, of course. Keep the show.
We'll turn on.
Polama, can we?
சின்னஞ்சிறு கிளியே கண்ணம்மா செல்வ களஞ்சியமே சின்னஞ்சிறு கிளியே கண்ணம்மா செல்வ களஞ்சியமே என்னை கலி தீர்த்தே உலகில் என்னை கலி தீர்த்தே உலகில் என்னை கலி தீர்த்தே உலகில் ஏற்றம் புரிய வந்தாய் என்னை கலி தீர்த்தே உலகில் ஏற்றம் புரிய வந்தாய் சின்னஞ்சிறு கிளியே கண்ணம்மா செல்வ களஞ்சியமே.
So beautiful, so beautiful. Such a lovely start to the day. And can you tell me a little bit about this?
Well, this song is one of our all-time favorites. It is a poem of Mahakavi Subramanya Bharatiyar in Tamil. It has the emotion of speaking to a young girl, and one could think of it as a mother to her child or a parent to their child. Or to me, it feels like talking to a sister. It really describes how important this person is to their life, and the power of the words along with the melody it is set in is truly a beautiful description of the relationship, the bonding between two individuals, two human beings, and it is very, very special that way, and we're very, very glad to share it with our NaariShakthi followers.
Beautiful, beautiful. And the melody, of course, is one part of it which actually transcends language boundaries, right? So, in an era where social media has actually democratized content, so you actually get to experience flavors of music from around the world. So you don't really have to know the language, but the music, connects so deeply with you. And the lyrics that you described are so special, so lovely. So thank you so much for that. Now, moving on to where we are right now. We are in this world where everything is moving so fast. It's all Insta, 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 right? So everything has to happen now, fast, up, louder. And we are in this era of instant gratification, right? But Carnatic music asks us to slow down, to listen, to experience life, pause and listen. So do you think that the world that we are in right now has become too fast for Carnatic music, or do you believe that classic music is exactly what today's generation needs?
We're absolutely right. It is something that the world needs today. In a world where you have the constant sounds, to the extent it becomes so overstimulating many times. We've all faced it at some point. It becomes overwhelming at times.
Maybe that's why there's short attention span now, right?
Yes, it is something when you look for something that is more meaningful and deeper. Things like classical music is what there is remaining, right? So we do not need to think of classical music as something that may not fit the fast world today. We, in fact, personally as artists, we constantly try to leverage the very aspects of trending or virality of reels and the short form content to truly act as what you can call a doorway into a much larger space that Carnatic music or any classical art form could be. For example, on our social media channels like Instagram is full of classical music content, but presented in a very short and crisp way, which all it does is kind of spark the intrigue or the interest of a listener who may not have had any kind of exposure to this art form. It could be youngsters or it could be even adults. And this intrigue then converts when they attend a 3-hour concert where there is a deep immersive experience of this music, and that draws you into itself, because classical music is one of those art forms that has the power to draw you when you allow it to. And once it draws you, then you don't want to come out. And that is the experience a listener gets when they attend a 3-hour concert. But to make them attend this 3-hour concert, that 90 seconds is crucial. Be it the way we present what we speak in that 90 seconds, or what we present about our music in that 90 seconds. You have to ensure your Instagram or all of this short form content is tailored, is specifically curated for the audience that it is meant for. And when they convert and come into your concert, that is when the true listenership happens. And at that point, when a concert ends and a youngster walks up to us in so many cities, in pretty much all the cities we've been to, we've seen a whole lot of youngsters and people who have not had exposure to Carnatic music before walk up to us and be absolutely awed by the beauty of it, because there truly is so much. All that was missing is that little bridge, and to imagine 90 seconds was all it took for that bridge to be built.
For them to come and sit through a 3-hour concert and be awed by it.
Yeah.
And many of them have specifically asked us, oh, we heard you do this 7-note medley on Instagram. So what was that about? Or we heard this in that, as part of that medley. So is that the same song you sang today? So that kind of an interest.
Sometimes it's also related to the travel that we share, because we are very passionate about remembering a place we visit with the music we've learned. It's a very simple thing. What started as something that we are just keeping as part of our memory, like buying a souvenir from a different country you visit. For us, remembering that place was singing a song there.
Yeah, it's like you probably remember a certain sari because you wore it to a certain place.
That is very true. In fact, if a particular music is trending during a particular trip, whenever that music plays again, you're reminded of that place.
Yeah? Yes, absolutely. Sometimes for many of us it is the smell of a particular place, the food of course, and for us it was classical music, and we would always look for some connection with where we were with the music that we know. And believe it or not, pretty much every place we've been to across the world, we've always found some kind of connection, be it because of the animal that we saw there, or because of the scenery that we saw.
It's probably not even related to our culture in most cases.
Yeah,
travel to other countries.
In so many different cultures too. And what started as just recording our memory, like a travelogue, became something people truly looked forward to, because now they can also make that connection. They see something and then they are able to remember this, and that adds so much value to be able to connect the dots. Ultimately, that's what truly, when you say you enjoy something so much, it's because you can connect all the dots. It gives you all of that additional context. So these are all some of the things that we did plan for as a bridge, but then we realized that they are so crucial as an art form to be able to be still something that people can listen, enjoy, learn, know, or just simply experience. So
through these means we're able to also leverage.
Very true. And because back in the days when grandma used to tell a story or sing, we would actually create those scenes in our mind, right? Now, everything, whether it is sight, sound, it's all presented. So, those parts of our brain are not firing anymore, right? So, it is very important to go back to the basics and be the best version of ourselves. Even writing versus texting is very different. When you write, it actually fires more neurons. You remember things better than you actually text and do. So there is science behind it. It's not just fad, right? It is real science behind everything that we've done. Okay. So I'm actually very curious, very interested since you mentioned that. Any particular experiences from your travels around the world that really established what you're doing?
For me, I think it was, if I have to talk about one, I think I would say we were on a trip to Sri Lanka and we went to an elephant orphanage.
Okay.
And we had, it was a chance to, interact with them and, bathe them and be around.
Well, to just describe it, it was amazing to imagine these huge, majestic creatures right here, and so many of them. It was amazing to just feel it. And at that moment, all we could think, so you have to just imagine this scenario where there's like a lovely flowing river, and there's at least like 50 elephants of all sizes, the babies and all this whole matriarch of the family. And all we can think about, or we could think about at that moment, is this famous poem by Andal, who was the one of the Alvars, and she was celebrated by so many cultures, and she is one of those important figures in our own culture for her devotion towards the Lord. And she's composed her dream of marrying Narayana, and in that her work starts with Varanamayiram, which means 1,000 elephants, and her imagination is so fertile. She talks about 1,000 elephants being part of the celebration, being part of the groom procession, and all we could think of was that. So seeing these animals in such large numbers in one place, we instantly broke
like
into
you
that
said,
song.
that imagery of, from a story. So that's what we could relate to, and we presented that from that particular location.
Because it was Tamil, and Sri Lanka also has a very fair amount of Tamil population, so many people loved the context real time, and we were singing it right there, because now they are part of the real experience as we were feeling it. We are singing with this context, and they are also able to see this. And when we shared this with our Rasikas online on our social media channels, I mean, they fell in love with the whole idea of it. It is really what they also felt across the distance, and all they're doing is just seeing it in a small mobile device, but it really had the power to make them imagine this scenario. And it's all thanks to the powerful lyrics of such amazing composers that we have, and of course the inherent beauty of the music that we have.
Beautifully connected the dots. Very nice.
Thank you.
So your journey today goes far beyond from being just performers, right? You're educators, TEDx speakers, you have your own brand, Anahita Apoorva. At what point did you realize that all these other aspects of storytelling were just as important as your core?
Well, that's a lovely question, because we did have a very, very intentional idea behind it. When we learn a composition, we do not just learn the melody and the rhythm of it. In our practice room, there is a whole process to how every single song is learned. We learn the context, we learn the meaning, we learn about the composer, we learn about the time frame of when this could have been composed, about the deity or whatever the context or the theme of the composition was. There's so much learning along with the song that goes in as a process for us naturally, and that's how we know to learn. So any other way does not add up in our minds. So every composition we know today has all of this context behind it. Now when we put this up on stage, all the audience is hearing is one composition. And then we realize that they do not have the context, they do not have all of this that went behind a single song that we got to do. And that's when we realized giving them this, equipping them with this, really adds so much more value to what they were listening to. So before every composition, we would give not just the technical details of its melody or rhythm, we would decode a little bit of the emotion behind the composition, the lyrics. we would decode something about the composer's life.
Or a story that is
sometimes
already there in the song, or about
there is
the
a
shrine, particular
representation.
deity.
Yes, there is something about the Puranas that is mentioned in the composition, and the deity, like she said, or the sthalam, the place in which it was composed. Giving even a little bit of context to what we were singing now connects the audience to what we're singing at that moment, and now from there they are weaving their own little mental image or a mind palace. Now that helps in really experiencing the music the way it was supposed to be, and it is no more just, oh, somebody's singing, I am listening. It is no more a passive activity. There is an active listening as they are absorbing what we give them, and that's when our creativity then starts flowing at a certain direction based on their response. Now that creative moment causes a particular reaction, and then now that powers another creative moment, and this is a constant give and take between the artist and the audience, and that truly is the best part about a concert.
And this goes far beyond the language barriers, Like we were talking about it earlier, just the emotion from the song or the melody from the song is resonating. And when we give a context for that, a story for that, and they're like, oh, this line probably is talking about this particular episode from that story. So that sort of a thing. So we started realizing the importance of communicating the storytelling part of it.
Yeah,
And it started resonating very well with the audience, like she said.
I think it kind of didn't just stop with the concert stage. We realized that all the touch points as artists we have with audience, there is that intent, and that intent shows, because ultimately that is what is going to act as that important link between you as an artist and them as the audience. On our social media, the way we present the music that we learned, it is just not about just showing what we learned or what we've practiced. There is so much that goes behind it, the visual aspect, the sound aspect, the quality aspect, and the way it is presented. So much goes into presenting what we have learned, and I feel like it is our responsibility to do that a certain way, and that intent converted itself into a brand at some point, and I feel like that is what it was all about, bringing that intent to what you present, because it is no more just a showcase. It is you sharing something so precious. It is you sharing something you truly have so much conviction and passion for. And when that shows, that is when the whole idea of a brand gets created at each touch point that you have with the Rasikas.
Very well said. And I think the benefits are twofold. One, it helps you build your own brand identity, right? Something that actually separates you from others. And second thing is, gone are the days when people are used to this, okay, I'm doing it because people are asking me to do it. They want to know what actually went behind the scenes, which actually makes it so important, so relevant. So that's where you're actually bridging the gap. Beautiful. So the next question is actually an extension of what you just said. So you are custodians of our culture, you are storytellers, right? So after someone listens to your performance, what is one thing that you actually want them to remember?
The feeling?
Yes, we
What
want
made them feel?
them to remember what they felt at that moment. And with the age and stage of AI and everything, I think the human connection is something that people are probably even missing out, right? So
It's gotten far more valuable than
Yeah.
Now
it
than ever
already
before.
was.
Yes. Because everywhere you see there is an AI. I mean, some video you see, you think it's real, but it's not.
Not. The lines between real and, artificial are so blurred now.
So when they come to a concert and they feel something at that moment, and in many concerts it has happened to us, and where they walk up to us and say, "You sang this particular raga, it reminded me of my mom. This particular song I've heard, the last time I heard this was 50 years back when I was, in my village." So that kind of personal connect that we're able to give at that moment, and they go back home with that, right? So that is very special for us.
And sometimes even with youngsters, when they can express their joy or ecstasy through the musical form, when they hear some of the creative aspects, the manodharma as we call it, where there are fiery kalpanaswarams, there's what you call the sawal and jawab, where we both have that constant interaction. When that builds an excitement in the air. And this excitement is something that the audience, the youngsters especially, are able to quickly capture, because it is so evident, and we are enjoying, because it is all at the moment, and we are enjoying the spontaneity, and the spontaneity's impact is unparalleled. So everybody in the audience begins to also feel it. So I think the human emotional connect, the human touch that this art form is able to bring to people in terms of nostalgia or simply feeling euphoria, or restful also, especially given today's context of AI. I think that is what is truly making this whole thing so worth it for us.
And every industry, no matter where you are, the focus is less on the product or the service, but more about the experience that you're leaving the person with, right? And that's exactly what you're saying. All right. So we are on to our signature question. Every woman who comes to the NaariShakti show gives her own perspective of what NaariShakti really means to her. And every time it's very eye opening because there is some fresh perspective that I've not heard before. So I'm very curious to know that what both of you have to say of what NaariShakti means to each one of you.
For me, I think it means resilience. Like we were talking about social media and all of that, you are out there in the public.
Yes.
So you are bound to face a lot of judgments, a lot of negative comments, and we see that day in and day out. So to move past all that, to have that courage to move, not just move past, but also to do the same thing over again, I think that is very courageous, that power to just shun it all and do your thing.
True.
With conviction.
True.
For me, that is Nari.
True. And it's so easy to be judgmental, right? It's so easy, but very hard to actually resist it and say that, no matter what, I'm going to continue to do
Yes.
it. How about you, Anahita?
Well, it kind of draws somewhere from what she said, the confidence in oneself. Today, as women, there are a lot of questions all of us have at every point in life. Almost on an everyday basis, there are questions in our minds. We tend to overthink a lot of things. And the confidence to be able to do something that you have conviction in, that is very powerful, because you can really see a confident woman completely conquering it, and slaying it, like they say, because that is a superpower that I think women are truly blessed with if they really put their mind to it. At some point, it becomes less about what you're doing and it becomes something about who you are and owning that. And for me, that is the biggest idea of NaariShakti, and being able, and that in a way that paves the way for other women to follow you. I always love to go back to this beautiful quote I read. As a person, or especially as a woman, you're really standing on the shoulders of the work so many other women have done before you. 50 years back, 100 years back, the women of our industry, for example, did not have it the way we are having it today.
They couldn't even face the stage.
Like they couldn't even get on
not
stage.
normal.
Pay it forward by paving the way for the future.
For the future generation, especially women, and we are very passionate about that in terms of bringing so many more people into this and being able to do it in a way where they feel the same kind of conviction that we feel about the art.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yes. Be thankful for the women who've actually paved the way and paid forward. So, Anahita and Apoorva, it was absolutely wonderful having you with us. Music is one area that we've not covered in the NaariShakti show yet, so it was very, very beautiful. I very briefly learnt Carnatic music. I could not continue it, but it's always wonderful, very nostalgic whenever you hear it. And, the biggest takeaway for me was, one, music is not something that we listen to, it's something that we carry with us. And the other takeaway was, just like everything else, the core is very important, but how you package your core is equally important. Because yes, the soul has to be there, but the story around the soul is very, very important. And that's what you are doing. So I'm sure you all love this beautiful episode. If there is another Nari who needs to hear the story, share it with her. If there are any comments or suggestions, please do post them. We are all ears. Until next Saturday, stay strong, stay beautiful. We'll be back with another Nari and her story. Thank you.